I'm Nick Clark. This is the F.I.R.M's podcast. I became a father at the age of 29. And man, I remember my mom coming to visit and I had to tell her that I had a baby on the way. I damn near cried. And I'm 29 years old. And I can remember sitting in the kitchen talking about it. My mother said, man, you almost 30 years old. It's about that time. But I felt like I was a kid, man. I felt like I was still a kid because I felt like it was so much still I wanted to do. So it was kind of just different to me. But I'll say this, man, Peyton is my oldest child. I'm extremely grateful for her because she made me become mature. It's not about me anymore. I got somebody else I got to live for. And somebody else is looking up to me because somebody really idolizes you. Somebody needs you. They're depending upon you. Like I just received this great badge of honor. Like, hey man, I'm a dad. When Peyton came about, me and her mother, we were just cool. It wasn't a relationship. It was just, we were just kind of kicking it here or there. It wasn't a relationship. We had never dated like that. I mean, it was just, it happened. And I remember her calling me and telling me she was pregnant. My first thoughts was like, damn. Because honestly, I knew I didn't want to have a baby in that situation. I wanted so bad to be a family, but I just knew that wasn't a person that I wanted to be with. But I knew, hey man, if you're man enough to make a baby, you have to be man enough and be responsible enough to take care of a baby. So I knew I had to make a decision like, okay, you have a baby on the way. You got to step up. So I knew without a shadow of a doubt, man, I was going to step up. So even like, again, when she called me, I just asked her what does she want to do. She said, I want to have my baby. And I said, okay, cool. I can't tell a woman what to do with her body, nor am I going to try to. But I knew what I had to do. And I knew I was going to make sure that I was in Peyton's life forever. That's what I was going to do. So we were good, man. We went through the, I guess, pregnancy phase. I was at every doctor's appointment that I could make, assisting from afar because, again, we were not together. So that was very awkward within itself. But we made it work. A little after Peyton was born, man, we were good. I remember receiving a text one day stating, hey, well, I think you should give me $700 a month towards child support. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot. And at this time, just to be honest, man, I was probably making like $30,000 a year. And then after taxes, I mean, you may be $1,200 every 2 weeks. You wanted $700. I'm like, okay, how the hell do I make this happen? And how do I still survive through this journey? And I think when I said I couldn't do it, a lot of things changed. I remember texting her mom saying, hey, just trying to confirm a pickup time for Peyton. And I remember she said, and I was supposed to pick up that weekend. I remember she stated, hey, we're already out of town. I'm tripping because we had already talked about her spending the weekend with me. And then all of a sudden, I'm just trying to confirm a pickup time. You're already out of town. That day, man, I was extremely furious. And I remember I went to see my mother that weekend. I'm like, man, I need to find out what I need to do. And my mom, she worked, at that time my mother worked for the Department of Family and Children's Service. So she worked for child support. And my mother kind of stated like, man, Nick, you don't want to go through child support services because all they care about is the money aspect. She was like, you need to get an attorney. So I ended up calling one of my friends. He referred me to an attorney, which honestly, still this day, man, she's probably my saving grace. That's probably, man, I'm not gonna say I owe her my life, but I owe her a lot. That's all I can say. I just could not understand for the life of me, why couldn't we work together as it relates to raising our child? Why does somebody else have to step in the middle of us because it's about money? And I felt like I was paying daycare and giving funds as well, but maybe that just wasn't the amount that she wanted or she wanted more. I don't know. And man, I just remember being in court. I was nervous as hell. The amount then it went up to maybe like about $900. You go to court, you have to deal with like a child support worksheet. So I'm in Georgia doing the child support. So all they look at is what your gross is. To me, that was like one of the wildest things ever because I don't buy anything based upon my gross. I don't remember the exact percentage, I do not. But I remember we went in, so that was just in a temporary hearing where they talked about the proposed dollar amount. So the temporary hearing, they didn't change anything. I was responsible for paying for daycare, so I continued to do that. They wanted $900 a month, so we ended up getting them down to $600. And when I saw it coming out my check, man, I'm like, okay, how do you survive? And I saw, man, dads in court, and they were like, man, if I pay this, I won't have anything. And the judge was kind of like, well, that is what it is. And like, that was very painful for me because it's like, okay, I'm paying this much in child support. What do I do when my kid comes over? How do I spend time with them? I can't take them anywhere because, okay, that's a lot of money, man. How do I do this? My apartment, my rent was this much, my bills are this much. That's not enough to cover that. So this time I'm feeling down. All I want to do is be a good father, man. And even during this journey, when they started taking it out, one time, man, honestly, I even thought about signing my rights over because I heard people talk about signing rights over because I felt like I can't financially afford to take care of my child and to make sure that we have somewhere to live, and which I think I could have made it happen, but it would have been extremely tight. So I started thinking those thoughts because at this time, anybody who's kind of been in the situation, your mind is racing, man. You just think like, okay, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I survive? Why do they want to take so much money? So I can remember my mother always saying like, less is more. And I swear, I think that came to be true because I think God knew my heart. He knew I wanted to take care of my kids, man. I'll be a great father. When they started taking the money out, I swear it just started to seem like I didn't even miss that money. I think I ended up getting a raise, and it just seemed like my bills went down. Just things just started working out. And I think my grandmother used to say, that's because your heart in the right place. And then my mother, again, I could hear her saying, less is more. Well, I felt like I had it figured out. You adapt to the resources that you have. So your funds are what your funds are. You have to find different ways to make it happen and to just survive.
All right, so listen, we back at episode 2 of the F.I.R.M podcast, man. I still had the privilege of flipping roles with Nick, and so we're going into episode 2 of the podcast. And so what really struck me at the very beginning of the episode is that some people don't have somebody that they can go and talk to, somebody who they can confide in when difficult things take place in their life. And so my question for you, Nick, is how important is it that you have that relationship with your mom who's able to talk you through that situation? Right, because you were in an unstable place somewhat when you found out the news. How pivotal was it that she was there?
Oh man, it meant a lot, man. Anybody who knows me, man, they know my mother's my rock. She's been there since day one, man. I mean, been through everything, and it meant a lot because shit, I was scared. Right. You know, just being honest, bro, I was scared. I was scared as hell. And I mean, the funny thing we laughed about even on the video, I was 29 years old. But I was scared to tell my mom that I was having a child because in my eyes, I felt like I'm still your baby. Like I ain't supposed to be having no baby, you know, I'm your baby. So, and that's why even with her, that's why I say it was so funny because she laughed like, man, you grown, you a grown man.
Right.
But I just felt like I let her down. But I think whenever she told me she was good, I'm good. And anybody, again, who knows me, they know the impact of my mother, man, and just how much I love her and how much her opinion means to me. Because in my mind, hell, if my mama rock with what I'm doing, I could care less what the world say. Because, you know, that's somebody who their influence and who they've been to me and just the sacrifice I've seen her make for me. Hell, I want to make sure that I honor her and that everything I do reflects her in a positive light, man. Right. You know, so that's how I always try to look at everything as it relates to even, like I say, just being her son, being a father, being a brother, whatever I am. I just want to make sure she sees me always in a positive light because I know her sacrifice and I don't want her to feel like the things that she did were in vain.
Right.
You know, because as a parent, you want to make sure your kids are respectful and what have you, and that your lessons have definitely molded them in the right direction or shaped them in the right direction.
Man. So, here in that episode, I heard that you made a joke about child support, but the reality is there are a lot of people who have these particular arrangements, court-ordered agreements or whatever, and it's swamping them. They don't know what they're going to do. And this may be male or female. Just talk to the people for a second about navigating child support and what it takes to be able to successfully get through that and still live life.
Oh man, child support, I'm not for or against it. I don't really have a dog in the fight as it relates to it. I think sometimes you have to do what you have to do as it relates to support. I understand that. I'm a person, I think child support should not always be the first option, I don't believe. Right. I think you guys should at least try to work it out and maybe try to come to some type of agreement. Because I think sometimes when child support steps in, it becomes more about how much money can I get as opposed to what's good for the child. Because again, I think we touched on the first episode, money is not everything. You know, the relationship with that child is everything. But sometimes child support has become such an ugly thing where it's like, I just want to see how much money I can get for this child. I don't really care about nothing else. I want to be able to get me, hey, X amount of dollars per month.
Right.
Because that's what they want. And that's not right. And that's not what it's set up for. I don't think no parent should be financially punished in a situation. Because as a parent, one of the hardest things that hits you when you're on child support is, man, like, and I'm just gonna speak from a dad standpoint. When you on child support and your child comes over and you can't do anything with them because lo and behold, a nice little percentage of your check is already gone to that child.
Right.
So you can't really do anything because again, the money's gone. And then even when you look at child support services, not being funny again, this is an organization that only cares about the financial aspect of a child. If we're talking about support, let's look at this like a full circle. So why aren't we getting visitation rights? So I don't care. Pretty much what this tells you is, I don't care if you see him, you work that out on your end, or y'all work that out.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna make sure she get this much money, or he gets this much money every month. Who does that? You know, it's like, so I think if we're talking about support, we have to, again, it's a circle, man. You have to provide everything, whether it be visitation, medical, child, financial. So it's like that aspect. But I remember I heard a dad say, well, I'm going in there, man, but they told me I gotta get a lawyer to come out for visitation. How am I afford a lawyer when I'm paying child support?
That's real.
And that's a real problem. You know what I'm saying? That's a real problem, man. And sometimes, again, child support, I think, has damaged a lot of situations. It's damaged a lot because some brothers can't afford to pay that, man. And I even remember being in court and a cat said, hey, I can't pay this and see him. I got to work, do this. Judge said, hey, that's your problem.
Right.
And I was like, damn. And I'm thinking in my head, like, so it ain't important for this man to see his kids if he wants to. Now, look at this. Now he gets painted as the bad guy or the deadbeat.
Yeah.
You know, and he's just really like, man, I'm just trying to keep a roof over my head. And when you do come over, I want to make sure, hey, you got your Xbox or you got some things that you like to do.
Right.
You just want to make sure you have those things.
Right.
You know, so I think that's the part of child support that's hard, man. I think, again, it's some mothers out there, some fathers, whoever it is, they need that assistance because in some cases, that's why I say I'm not for or against. You got some people, they don't want to give you any type of assistance. And raising kids, as you know as well as I know, they ain't cheap.
No.
That's not cheap, man. When you get the shoes, school, extracurricular activities, I mean, you got to grow. You got boys.
Yeah.
They eat.
Yeah.
They eat just because it's in the refrigerator.
Oh, yeah.
They're not even hungry sometimes. Like, I'm just going to get me something to eat. And you looking like, there goes some money going out the window. Then you turn to the dad like, oh, everybody hates Chris. You know, you can come Julius. Yeah. So you count that. They go $2 worth of eggs. They go this, but you have to provide for them, man. So it's just, I mean, child support it can be a trip, man.
Man, listen, I insert a funny story. So I'm potty training my 2-year-old right now, man. He goes to the restroom and he's just unrolling his tissue. And I'm just telling him, he's 2 years old. Hey, man, that tissue costs cash money, right? And I'm just telling him, and I'm making jokes with him. My wife hear me. She said, you telling the baby about the pandemic? I said, hey, man, there's no tissue on the shelves, right? But that's just where you are as a father, man. You just concerned with the things that people don't think about. But I share a personal story of one of the close friends of mine, man. He was telling me a story about child support, and he was getting up 5:30 in the morning, driving across town to get his kids from their mom's house after him and his wife split, take them to school, prepare them and everything. He was coming back in the afternoon doing that reverse opposite, getting them dinner. Basically, from the time they woke up in the morning to the time they finished their homework and did dinner, he did everything that was necessary. But they were living with mom. And so all mom had to do really was come home from work. Now, this is no knock on mom because, right, I firmly believe people do the best that they know how.
Yeah.
And it may be hard to accept that, but people work with the best that they have, right? Their best thinking is what they use. And so, long story short, mom had to do absolutely nothing for about 2 years that they were separated. One day he's driving, he gets pulled over by the police. They tell him his license is suspended. He don't even know why. It was because she had filed a child support claim. And so I say all that to say, culturally in our community, right, we often hear that child support is always a bad thing. And so I had to take the stance of you that I think sometimes it's needed. There are people that don't do things. But what do you say to that person who may want to use child support or visitation as a jab at the person that they're really upset at?
Man, you know what? You see that often, though. You see that often where somebody has child support, they'll try to use that as the leverage or visitation, whatever. I think this is my thing. If you're going to do that, you be man or woman enough to stand in them shoes and say, I didn't let your mom or your dad see you because, hey, I didn't get money they didn't pay me,
right?
Or that. But they're not going to stand there and tell you that. The image they're going to paint of you the image they're going to paint of you is as the bad father who didn't want to be around. Right. No, let's tell the true story. Charles wanted to be a good dad, for example, but because Charles couldn't pay you X amount of dollars per month and he was struggling to pay that, I wouldn't let their child see you. Right. I wouldn't let you see your child. And a lot of brothers, man, you got brothers in jail behind that type of stuff. You got sisters in jail who behind. I'm not even gonna say brothers because nowhere on this podcast am I trying to bash women or bash men. I'm just having solid conversation. You got brothers in jail because they've lost their temper because of things that happen pertaining to their kids. You know, you got sisters in jail with the same thing. Because one thing, man, people don't play about their kids, especially when I'm trying to be a good parent.
Absolutely.
Especially, and so we're talking about father. I'm gonna speak from a father standpoint. When I'm trying to be a good dad, and you want to play with me about my child, or you want to play about my visitation. Oh, you out of town? Hey, I'm going to run and do this. My time is important too.
Right. Yeah.
You know, my time is important too, and I think kids see that because they see like, hey man, mom really don't care about if dad sees me or mom, you know, I'm with mom all the time. They tend to have an image of you like, man, he don't care. Mom, right, man, he don't care. And nobody too is telling the story that, hey man, Charles may be giving $600 a month. Nobody's talking about that money. Nobody ever say, hey, you know, your dad bought you this. No, I'm doing all this for you. I'm doing all that. No, Charles contributing to the household too, or whoever that may be, or she's contributing to the household too.
Right.
You know, so I think we can't forget that, man.
Right.
And I think for us, even as a culture, I think child support is just, I ain't gonna say it's damaged us. I can't say that. But again, I think some people use it as a financial gain. Like, hey, how much can I get? But then you try to take me to court, or you take her to court, and say, for instance, they were giving you, I'm gonna say $1,000 a month. But when you take them to court, now the judgment say, hey, he or she's only responsible for paying you $300 a month. Now you want that $1,000 back. No, you're gonna get that $300 now.
Yeah.
Because you want to be greedy.
Yeah.
And really, I'm not wrong for giving you what they say I'm supposed to give you. Now anything else I do, now it's up to you. But it's like, that's what happens sometimes when we're greedy, man. You know, but I mean, that's a whole podcast episode kind of in itself too, you know what I'm saying? Just talking about that, child support services and different things like that. So I know we'll definitely have people on the show to talk about it, because a lot of people are just dealing with it, man. And even when I talk to young teens or young men, I'll be like, bro, you might want to be mindful of that, man, because that child support, they looking at what you gross, not what you net, man. And that ain't really a good thing, you know, because no other thing outside child support do you purchase based upon what you gross. You gotta look at what you bring home in that net, man. What's in that net? That's how you kind of live off of what's in your net, not what's in your gross.
Right.
But
man, listen. So one last question I had as it relates to this particular episode, man. How would your life with your kids be differently if you had signed over your rights?
Oh man, honestly, bro, I couldn't have did that, man. I couldn't have did that. I think at that time, I was at a place to where I just didn't know. And again, we talked about guidance, man. I didn't have somebody I could just chop it up with and say, hey, this is what I'm looking at. This is how I'm feeling. I didn't have that. So I just kind of, your mind is rambling everywhere. I'm like, okay, what do I do? Maybe I can sign over my rights and still be in her life or whatever. Right. Because I heard somebody crazy told me, man, you sign your rights over, you know, you can still see your child, but then you don't have to pay that much in child support. I said, okay, cool. But I'm like, that was just me, I think, hearing advice and kind of everything going through your mind. But honestly, I'm just glad that I stayed the course, man.
Right.
And that I never did that. And I've been there with my daughter since day one.
Yeah. Since
day one, man. You know, we have our ups and downs, me and our mother trying to co-parent. That's anybody. But I wouldn't change it for the world. Because again, that little girl changed my life. Gave me somebody to be responsible for, and just, again, gave my life meaning, man. Because I think at that point, bro, before you have kids, and you might can attest to this, you're selfish. And you're not selfish like in the sense you want to do it. You're like, hey man, it's about me.
Yeah.
Hey man, nobody but me. You know, you living the good life. And now when you get a kid, it's like, okay, I got to make sure everybody's straight now.
Yeah. Because
you know, you're a single man, no kids. You know, if you are, when you are, you can eat noodles for a week and be good. You know, when you got a family, you got to get meals. You got to plan stuff out, man. You got to go grocery shopping.
Absolutely.
You know, you go to your bachelor pad, ain't nothing in the refrigerator but a little juice and some eggs or something, and you good. You know, with them kids, they looking like where the snacks at. So it's different, man. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. She's been really good for me.
So man, you hit on co-parenting. As we come to a close, we bring it forward to today's time. Where are you today as it relates to co-parenting? You started in a rocky space, maybe around child support and around what mom thought was best versus what you thought was best. Where are you today as it relates to co-parenting?
Co-parenting, man. Co-parenting is like when you're at work, man. It's a working document. That document is gonna forever be changing. It's always something. One thing I've learned in my co-parent role is I've had to give a lot more. Okay. I've had to be in a position to give. I think sometimes there's certain areas I want to insert myself and I don't per se, and it's because we've had conflicts in the past. So now we've kind of gotten past some of those things, but we still have our issues. We do. I'm not gonna sit here like we have the worst relationship, by no means. I'm not gonna say that. Do we have the best? It's okay. It's okay. But it's like anything else. I mean, you're co-parenting with another person. And two, you guys are not in the same household. You guys have two different upbringings. You have two different thoughts of where you want to. But my biggest thing is I just try to make sure we keep it about the child.
Gotcha.
You know, and I think that's the only thing I would tell anybody co-parenting, just make sure you keep it about the child. If you do what's best for the child, everything else will fall in line. And I try to never make decisions based upon Nick. And I think, but two, sometimes Nick has had to take a back seat to everybody. And sometimes, you know what I'm saying, that's a lot for a brother, man, because you feel like, damn, I always got to show up and be the bigger person. I got to be the bigger person.
Yeah.
But then I have to remember, too, if I ever lose it because of anything that's going on, I'm going to lose it in the sense of, when I lose it as far as my temper, I'll lose maybe time with my child or visitation issues. So it's like, okay, look at, is it worth it?
Right.
But again, man, it's co-parenting. It's co-parenting, and it's going to be some ups and some downs, but we get through it. I think we try to make sure we always keep, when they don't try, we make sure that she's in the forefront. Now, sometimes our personal feelings can get stepped on, but that is what it is. But hey, it's a job that I signed up for, and regardless of what happened, I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna push through it, and we're gonna make it happen. My kid she'll be 11 next year, man. I really feel old, you know. So we're at a different space too with my daughter, man. It's like she's coming to the age to where she's knocking at that teen doors, like. And 11-year-olds are not like when we were 11. Like, they got cell phones, technology, so it's a different monster, man.
Different time.
It's taken some adjustments for me too, but I love the ride, man.
Gotcha.
I love seeing her grow into her own. But I've been blessed to be a father. That's all I can say. I've been blessed to be a father, man.
That's real, man. Hey, man, we'd like to thank y'all for joining us for episode 2 of the F.I.R.M podcast. I'm your fill-in host, Charles. Your founder, Nick.
Hey, thank you guys again. Look forward to seeing you on episode 3. My journey through fatherhood, part 2. I'm Nick Clark. This is the F.I.R.M podcast.